Now, linked to the neoliberal issues was the question of workers' rights. And it was proposed that the Charter of Fundamental Rights is a part of the Lisbon Treaty and would have a treaty basis once Lisbon was ratified by all the states.
Yeah.
Now in Ireland, the leaders of the Trade Union Federation and the leaders of the Irish Labour Party seized on the Charter as an alibi to push the treaty and to campaign for a yes vote. They argued that the adoption of Lisbon with the Charter as part of it would mean a serious advance in workers' rights, that it would be a serious check against what we call the race to the bottom, the exploitation of workers, migrant workers particularly. And because there is a lot of concern in Ireland, as there is in many countries among workers, about the race to the bottom and the abuse of migrant workers, this could have become a persuasive argument if it hadn't been answered. And the Socialist Party in the campaign played a critical role in exposing these arguments as fraudulent. We explained that the so-called fundamental rights in the Charter were in fact conditional rights, that the rights of workers were limited by the Charter giving the right of business to trade and make profits as a more fundamental right, and that the rights of workers were limited by the EU treaties themselves, the previous treaties, which give such a critical role to competition within those treaties. And the judgments given by the European Court of Justice in the course of the past year were really critical to our campaign in exposing the arguments of the trade union and labour bureaucracy. All the comrades here are very familiar with the Laval judgment arising out of the dispute in Vaxholm in Sweden, a very significant judgment in Germany called the Rufert judgment. And again, like in Laval, it gave more fundamental rights to business to bring workers across borders and pay them under the proper trade union rate. It gave more right to business, if you like, than to the workers to have the proper wages that were negotiated by the trade unions in those places. And we explained that the Charter of Fundamental Rights, which had been accepted in the EU since the year 2000, had in fact been taken into account by the European Court of Justice in those judgments and was mentioned within those judgments, but that did not change the judgment they gave. And the European Court of Justice made very clear that the EU treaties and the Charter itself really allowed businesses trading across borders to undercut the agreed rate between, for example, for the construction industry. And we explained that merely putting the Charter into the Lisbon Treaty would change absolutely nothing in this regard. And we had very sharp exchanges on the national airwaves with leading yes people, leading trade union bureaucrats and the leader of the Labour Party, and we really demolished their arguments in regard to this issue. Now, the third critical issue that we raised, comrades, were the very significant changes to the common foreign and security policy of the European Union and the big impetus towards a further militarisation of the EU that is contained in Lisbon.